the guys, and they all overlooked me. I'd already started playing tennis a little bit though, just as a hobby with one of my friends who was one of the top players in California, and I would go and mess around with him, and I was starting to hit the ball pretty good, and then when none of the coaches invited me to come out to their schools, I decided that I would just switch up and start playing tennis, that maybe football and basketball wasn't for me.
Okay. Now I understand because of tennis, it kind of had a Detroit connection, one of your connections via tennis. Is this right that you helped Anita Baker with her first project?
I did. Well, when I was in high school, I was a small guy, so rich people, my tennis coach taught a lot of rich people's kids. And what he did is he would introduce me to them to go out and play tennis with their kids, and they would pay me $20 an hour in high school. So one of these people was Otis Smith. Also, he was from Detroit as well.
Okay.
He started Beverly Glen Music. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but they had Chapter 8. He found Bobby Womack, Johnny Taylor. He did Patti LaBelle's comeback album when she had fell off. She did the comeback album for her. So I've been playing tennis when I was like 16 years old with his son. And after I got into the drug business one day, I was just like chilling out, and I wanted to go and be by myself. I didn't want to be around nobody. And I heard it was a tennis tournament going on. A pro tennis tournament was in the city, and I hadn't been around tennis for maybe 5 years, or maybe 6. And I just wanted to go and just hang out and be loose at a tennis tournament. So I go out, and I'm sitting there watching the match, and I look up. Here's little Otis. He's playing number 2, I think, for UCLA. He's grown up now. He's about 6'3", 6'4", big kid.
Mm-hmm.
Playing really well, ranked in the world. And I felt like that was part of my work, with him being on the tennis court. And so I sit there and I'm gonna watch him, and then he's playing against the number 1 guy from Stanford University, and they get into an argument. And I see his dad, who used to pay me the $20, and also used to buy me tennis shoes and rackets when I need them. Okay. So I see that it's gonna be a fight. Gonna jump off, and these dudes from Stanford look like linebackers. They wasn't slim kids. So I saw that it was gonna be an incident. So I called my guys, and just so happened as soon as the incident jumped off, one of the guys hit the old man in the eye, and my guys was walking in just at the time, so they went over and took care of their business. Whooped them real good. I broke it up. So then the tennis coach came up, and then him and Otis was talking, and he says, Otis says, "Man, why don't you invest in the music business with me?" And the tennis coach turned around and said, "You want me to invest? Rick is the one that you need to invest. He richer than anybody in L.A." And he's saying, "Quite as scared, he probably wanted to save your ass today, because they was gonna hurt him if I wouldn't have been there. He would have got hurt bad." Right. So Otis walked over. He said, "You little Rick?" And I was like, yeah. And he was like, "Man, I got to take you out for dinner and thank you." And then he started telling me, "Oh, I couldn't get my boys," he's holding his eye because they messed his eye pretty bad. "I couldn't get my boys to get over here in time, but I'm so glad you." I said, "Ain't nothing, man. You used to look out for me when I was a kid." He was like, "Man, I'll take you out for dinner." So we go out for dinner. And now I started to hang with him a little bit more, because this guy used to take me home in Rolls Royces when I was 16 years old. I'm staying in South Central LA. He's taking me home in Rolls Royces. So I started hanging with him. I got money to burn at this time, and he starts telling me about a young lady that he has that sings like a mockingbird. He's like, "Man, I got this young lady. All I need to do is send her out here. She in Detroit right now, and get her apartment and do this for her, and then she gonna kill it." I knew absolutely nothing about the music business. I had messed around with hip hop a little bit, before I started selling drugs. We had the turntables, we throwing parties, the little stuff. But I bought that stuff from selling drugs. But the drugs had got so good, I was like, man, hell with some turntables.
Right. So bigger money.
Yeah, I ain't going to no party, man. Dealing with all them knuckleheads, fighting, got to carry a gun and all that, man. I'm chilling. So we just started talking, and he told me that he need the money, so I gave him the money. He sent her out. We got her apartment, and they went to work on our album. In the meantime, though, I didn't have enough sense to get into the music business. I basically just gave him money to take care of everything. When I remember when I went over to the apartment that she was staying in, I was disgusted because it was worse off than my rock houses. The guys who were selling my rock stayed in better apartment. But I don't know nothing about music business. I don't know how you're supposed to treat an artist.
Right,
I don't know nothing. I don't know nothing. About this field. I'm totally out of my lane. But I said to myself that I wouldn't have put anybody in that apartment because the apartment smelled of rents like somebody had a dog living in there before.
Wow.
And that was no shot at my man. But that's an inside joke. But I didn't know to get involved with the artist and make sure that the artist was taken care of, and I didn't really know Otis's reputation.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that he was supposed to be a guy who didn't pay his artists and
Oh, wow.
and didn't take care of them and so forth. I just basically gave him the money. Him and Patrick Moulton put the album together, and the album went on to go gold. She eventually jumped the label. I paid for the lawyer to fight because I still was on his side. You know what I'm saying? Because I really didn't have no relationship with her at all. Just hi a couple times and bye. So I was on his side and I backed him. I paid for the lawyers to fight when she went to Epic Records. And then I went to jail before they settled out of court. They wound up settling out of court, and he didn't give me none of my money back.
Oh.
So I know it wasn't her. You know what I'm saying? It was him all along. But that was pretty much my involvement with the Anita Baker project.
That's pretty dope. I mean, Motown may not be the same. You know what I mean? It may not be the same without you.
Yeah.
You kind of flirted with a lot of the music industry.
You heard stories about you almost signed to Alcoholics at one point. You had your hand possibly in Death Row at another point. Like, why didn't you, with all those opportunities and being around all of the music, why didn't you ever think to go that route at all?
Well, I was making so much money selling drugs. I mean, it was really crazy. I mean, one time I get a call from Reggie Rutherford, and he's with Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones, and they recording Thriller. Well, they want me to come up to Quincy's house where they recording that, and I didn't take the meeting because I got in a mindset that I got more money than I need. I don't need nothing. I don't need nobody. If y'all want to talk to me, y'all come and talk to me. I ain't taking.
Don't send for me. Like, don't
tell me to come to where you at. You come to me, and which was the wrong mindset. I shouldn't have had that mindset. I should have. And Reggie was like my brother. We still tight. He doing extra now. And first time when I went up to extra, he stopped the set with Mario and everybody. To show me that kind of love. But I was just young, man. You're talking about 23, 22, maybe 24 years old when all this is going on. And when you're young and you don't know what you're doing, my mom used to say, a fool and his money is soon depart. Because I know had I went up there, it's a good chance that I probably would have been involved with the Thriller album. More than likely. In my mind, more than likely they wanted money.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever Reggie called me, it's usually, he called me one time, him and Michael Bivins come by the house. Usually when people come by, it was because they needed some cash, to do something. And I didn't want to spread myself so thin, too, I'd already gave Otis $600,000 for the Anita Baker project. And then, like I said, DJ Pooh wanted $200,000 for
and that was $600 back then
for his project. See, if he'd asked me for $40, I probably would have did it. And what's even worse than that, though, I go over to the house with DJ Pooh and them all recording that, and it's like 15 to 20 kids laying all over the place. Well, when I go and meet Dr. Dre, when I get out of prison for the first time, I spoke to him on the phone when I was in prison, But when I go to his house the first time and meet him, he tell me that he was in that house
Wow.
the day that I came by there.
Wow. Greatness passing each other.
Yeah.
So I know that I had my fingers right on the pole. And even with the Alcoholics, we had verbally agreed that the Alcoholics was going to be on my label.
Okay.
You know, and Fabian, who was the head promoter over at Loud Records at the time, who later became head promoter over at Interscope, was going to quit Loud and come and run my label. I was still in prison. So when I left Harry-O, when him and Suge started Death Row, when I left them, when I got back to the penitentiary, I see the video, 187 on the Undercover Cop. So when I see that, because I still wasn't really feeling the hip-hop, you know what I mean, like,
It was new.
maybe hip-hop, maybe not, you know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm going to do this here, maybe I'm going to do that. But when I got back to the joint and I see, damn, man, Harry-O got a video on TV. So it hit me a whole different way, because we always been kind of like competitors, too. You know, we ain't let Harry-O outdo me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when I got back to the pen, I made my mind up. I got to get me an artist. So I started calling everybody King T. Finally, I got in touch with King T, and he put me up on the Alcoholics. He told me, "Oh, they living with your cousin." It was crazy. I was like, "Damn, they living with my cousin? They ain't got nowhere to live." And I called my cousin. He was like, "Oh yeah, you can holler at them. They'll mess with you, cuz, you know." And we verbally agreed that everything was gonna go down. And then I go to the hole. That's what messed that deal up. It didn't mess the deal up because I wasn't gonna do the deal, because I still had the money at that time. You know, I still had a little money to do the deal. I still had a couple $100,000, and I had learned more about the music business then. I've been, you know, Harry-O had me reading. When I got there, Harry-O started me reading Source magazines, the Variety, the Hollywood Reporter. I mean, he was already. Harry-O was like, when I got to jail, he had been in jail like 3 or 4 years, so he was already like light years ahead of me on game, you know, for it's like, he had been in solitary confinement. He was in a place called Pelican Bay, so he was locked down 24 hours almost every day. So all he had to do was read all day long. So he got, when I come in the cell, he got the Hollywood Reporter, the Variety, the Source, the Rolling Stone, stuff I ain't never even heard of. I ain't never heard of no Hollywood Reporter, no Vibe, Source, and this. And I'm like, damn. But he started educating me on it. Me and him became cellies. As soon as I came through the door, he grabbed me and said, "Come on, man, you can get the bottom bunk." Boom. So we were cellies. And now he was glad because he had somebody that was on his level, because most of the guys that was in the institution, they're not functioning on that level. You know, they more thinking about playing dominoes, some cards, shooting basketball, you know, just doing the normal jailhouse stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but Harry-O was in there, he was in there moving. You know, he was telling me, like, man, I should have had Denzel on a better contract. I should have had this with Vanessa Williams.
He said he had Denzel on the contract?
Yeah, he gave Denzel this break.
Word? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Denzel. He gave Denzel played in Checkmate, a play before he got into the movies. And Harry-O did that. You know, Harry-O got the keys to the city for the play for Checkmate.
Wow.
No, Harry-O a beast.
That's
You know,
dope.
and him and Jay Prince had some dealings as well.
Right.
I don't know what they were. You know, I wasn't totally privileged to it, but somehow they were connected in the music business. I know they had some falling out behind it, but you know, Harry-O was a beast, and probably still is. You know,
He don't got much time left, right?
he still got like 9 years. He got mad at me about a year ago because I couldn't get Denzel's phone number. I said, man, I ain't seen Denzel in I don't know how long. But yeah, and that's the kind of dude he is, man. He tell you something, you got to get him what he want, or he ain't gonna mess with you no more. He done. You know, I remember, man, when he first started grooming Suge, and you know, I would hear him on the phone because our phones be right next to each other, so you know, we hearing and sharing conversations.
Right.
And he telling Suge, man, you got to get out the bed, man. You can't be asleep. You know, you got to get up and go. And just the whole concept of being a businessman, man. He did a lot of grooming with Suge. You know, I remember when Suge would come down there when he first started. The day me, well, first it was me, Harry and David Kenner, because David Kenner was Harry O's lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there when he told David Kenner he going to show him how to make more money than he ever made as a lawyer.
Wow. I remember when I didn't know when Death Row was popping. I just thought Suge Knight, like that was it. And I forget I was reading an article on allhiphop.com, and they started talking about Harry O, and he was like the other presence behind it. It totally like blew my mind. And then hearing different stories about him putting on Denzel and all the other stuff. A lot of stuff going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, you know how people. It's funny how when people when they get in power, they start to change. And me and Suge ain't never had no problems. You know, we super cool. Because even after I got out, Suge was willing to help me, but Harry didn't want me working with Suge. You know, he asked me not to work with Suge. You know, and I respect his wishes because he had introduced me to Suge, and Suge was his man. But Harry definitely is a clever dude. And probably even more so because I know right now all he's doing is reading books and studying and gaming, you know, getting his game up. Hopefully he'll be out soon.
So how many years did you actually end up being behind?
I did 20 years in about 3 months.
Jesus.
It's a whole life.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, Harry been in there though now like 32 years, man, 33 years. You know, he went to jail for a kidnap, attempted murder. But yeah, I did a nice bit. You know, they was giving out them numbers, man. You know, they didn't care. You know, you get involved with drugs and you get caught up. You know, one of my homies just got out 2 weeks ago. Lil Tommy, he did 30 years.
Jesus.
Went to jail when he was like 22 years old.
So there's two questions that's popping on my mind. One, I got a loved one who's spending some time behind bars right now. What would be a book or two that you would recommend for anybody to read who's in there?
Well, I always recommend to everybody, and you'll see in the back of my book, my 3 favorite books was As a Man Think and Grow Rich, and The Richest Man in Babylon. Now I would have to add Freeway Rick Ross Untold Autobiography to that list.
For sure.
But those 3 books really, really helped me out a lot. They helped me to really analyze myself. You know, I was able to break myself down, analyze my weaknesses and my strengths, and start to build myself up to be the person that I wanted to be. You know, and it ain't been as easy as I would have thought it was gonna be. I would have thought that I would have had it a lot easier than what I'm having it right now. But then I recognize that a lot of people can't peep out talent. You know, they don't know true talent when they see it.
And the second question is, this is just my personal opinion. I don't think, for the life of me, I don't understand how they can give a life sentence out for drugs. Like, it just don't make sense.
I don't either. And it's really bizarre to me, and you look at the way now that they're treating heroin, then the difference when they was treating cocaine. You know, you would hope that it's because they become wiser in their judgment, and hope that it's not because, you know, young white kids are using heroin and you know, back in the day it was more blacks. Even though it was more whites using cocaine back then, but they just didn't arrest the whites. They arrested blacks because they said it was easy to get the arrest. But they're calling heroin an epidemic, and it's a medical problem, you know, instead of a criminal problem.
Yeah, we did an episode
on making all drugs legal.
Like, we did an episode a while back, and I just feel that all drugs should be legal. Not because I think everybody should do drugs. I think because they are illegal, it creates the black market, and then that's where all the murders and death and all the illegal activity.
Man, you thinking on the same wavelength.
Because I'm like, if I had an opportunity to go to, say, CVS and buy wherever I want, or the corner house on such and such, I would typically go for the safer route. I think most people would. And it can be regulated, and if it's really a war on drugs, you should put that money towards rehabilitation and prevention versus let me try to lock somebody.
And education. Why not put the money before they get on the drugs than after they already hooked, and now you got to try to wean them off. You know, it's always harder to stop something than it is to prevent it.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, if you use drugs, you're gonna use drugs, no matter what the law is.
Yeah.
So it ain't laws.
It's easy to get your hands on
being
them,
illegal
legal or
is
not.
stopping
It's easier
nobody.
to get cocaine than it is to get a pack of cigarettes if you got the money.
Yeah.
See, the thing about the cocaine, you got to have the money.
Mm.
So then what they do is they go out and they get the money because they know they can get the cocaine because it's everywhere. When I was in the pen, my first week in the penitentiary, I was in the hole for classification and got OD'd in the hole, where you have absolutely no inmate contact. The only contact you have is with an officer. And this guy OD'd in there. So where did he get his drugs from?
Wow.
And if they can't stop him from coming into their maximum security penitentiary hole, how they think they're going to stop him from coming into this country? Even if they build a wall Donald Trump trying to build.
Man, the hell with that wall. They ain't never building that damn wall.
45 in that wall gotta go, man.
That wall got to go. I heard the Supreme Court, man, gave him his travel ban.
Temporarily. I think the travel ban is up temporarily, but I don't think he ain't got no leg to stand on with that. How you gonna keep people out of the country just for no apparent reason?
Based on what? Like, because religion and ethnicity is two different things. Like, you can't ban Muslims because I could be a Muslim.
Yeah.
Anybody could be a Muslim. Like, it's wild.
Yeah. Well, it ain't getting no better, man. And that takes us to the next thing, man. This post-traumatic slave syndrome. What?
That's a real thing. I think it's a real thing.
Oh, no question. I'm a testimony to it. This book is a testimony that it's a real thing. I never heard of it. Just a couple of weeks I was reading a book, and the book really gave me a whole new insight on the philosophy of slavery and made me look at slavery like nobody else has ever told it. I seen some slave movies, and we saw Roots and stuff, but Roots was sugar coated, man.
Mm-hmm.
They put us through some trauma that man, that's unheard of. And it's a miracle that we sane, with some of the stuff that has happened to our people and stuff that we had to watch. And what she said in her book is that in a trauma doesn't have to necessarily happen to you personally. You can witness a trauma and be affected.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the reasons that when they hung the slaves and whooped them, they would have the rest of the slaves to come out and watch it because they knew that it would
Send
give
a message.
them that message and that fear.
And I feel like they doing that currently with these police shootings because nothing ever happens to them, but they just put them in public and they show the white cop killed the black man or the black woman. Nothing happens to them, and they just look.
But we talked about that too before. Like, if you grow up in the hood now or urban environments, there's a good chance that somebody that's dealing with PTSD. Like, it's not just niggas coming home from the war or stuff. Like, it's a war going on outside. You know what I'm saying? People getting shot down, killed every day, and the more that you see it, the more that cycle repeats. I mean, it's not going anywhere. And like you said, you see the visuals on the news, social media. I don't want to necessarily blame it on the music, but you see those things all around you, and it continues to replicate that same type of feeling.
And it gives you the thought that this is normal life. It's normal for us to kill each other, and it's crazy.
It is. I remember, when I first started getting a little bit of paper, and my homeboy B can attest to this. I moved my family out to a nice ass house out in the suburbs, and I remember like my first 2-3 weeks out there, I couldn't sleep at night. Like, I was used to hearing sirens, I was used to hearing the music, people up all night long, and like 10 o'clock, it would be pitch black, and my neighbors in the house, ain't nothing going on, and it was just really hard for me to get adjusted to that because I grew up on the west side of Detroit. Like, I'm used to hearing those sounds all night long. I can close, I know I close my eyes 12, 1 o'clock. If I wake up in the middle of the night, I'm going to hear niggas outside. I'm going to hear police sirens. I'm going to hear, Vezo banging in the background because that's just what we do.
Yeah. And along with that, they also was trying to make us feel inferior, and make them feel superior. It was brainwashing on both sides. And also, they had had them fixed in their minds that they didn't want to give us any sympathy. They didn't have any pity. She showed us a picture at the seminar. I was speaking in Milwaukee, and she came on as a keynote speaker, and they showed a picture of a black man being hung on Sunday after church, and everybody was in this picture posing and smiling, and like nobody had sympathy for this guy. They don't know if he was innocent, if he did it, but you could be hung then for looking a white man in the face, or looking at a white woman, or disobeying an order, not doing whatever you was told, or arguing with a white man could get you hung. So these people are standing in this picture posing, smiling and giggling, and then in the small print it said that sometimes after the lynching, they all took knives and cut little pieces of souvenirs off of the guy. When you talk about people seeing that kind of trauma, how could it affect both sides? And what these cops are doing now, they don't really have any sympathy on us because they have been translated down through them. The attitude that their people had from back then.
Man, I agree 100%. When I was reading the book earlier, it was something that kind of stuck out to me in your upbringing. I know you played tennis, and during school, your coach would just say, "Hey, pass him through," and then ultimately, when he found out that there was an issue with reading and writing, he cut everything off. "You're not going to college. I don't need you anymore. Like, you were really good while you were benefiting me, but now that I can't use you anymore, I'm gonna cut you out."
Absolutely. That's the way they do it.
And I see a lot
The NFL is like that. The NBA is the same way. You go up on the stage, they weigh you
in front of everybody.
They looking at you, they judging how big you is, how small, how fast, and it's like a market.
Yeah,
it definitely is. You mentioned the books that you were reading inside and how they kind of changed you and had you examine. But I know initially when you went in, reading books that fluently wasn't something that you could do initially.
No, I was totally illiterate when I went to prison.
And that blew my mind.
Had never read a book. Totally illiterate.
The reason that blew my mind is because I guess the things that we put the value of quote unquote intelligence on, because I literally am running a multi-billion-dollar corporation. And I'm doing this without being able to quote unquote read and write, but clearly the thought process, the progress was there.
Oh, no doubt. The analyzation,
right.
The what is it called? What's the word? It's right on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it. It'll come to me in a minute. But the being able to sit down and analyze a situation, I had all that.
Yeah.
When I was in prison and I started writing this book, and I thought about what if criminality would have been on the test to get in college. I would have got in because I could tell them how to rob somebody at the ATM machine. I could tell them how to steal a car, how to hotwire it, how to snatch the ignition out, how to door jam it. And that means to take a pair of vice grips and put around the keyhole and open the door, how to pull the windows back. I knew all that. Saying that is that in my neighborhood, that's the kind of information that circulated around our neighborhood. Becoming a real estate agent wasn't something that was readily taught in our community. So it's hard for us to become a real estate agent when there's nowhere you can go and get that information from.
So is that what you kind of going around the country speaking and teaching the kids currently?
Absolutely. Letting them know that we have to go out and seek the information, that we can't just sit back and wait for the information to come to us, that we got to make ourselves available to the information. critical thinking was the word I was trying to come up with.
Because that's really what's important. The critical thinking and
you
problem
gotta
solving.
you got to be a critical thinker.
Yeah.
You know, and I noticed that I'd always been a critical thinker in some respects. You know, I didn't sit down in the drug business and think it all the way out, but I was doing some critical thinking. I did know that it was going to get my family out of the immediate problem they was in. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm going around the country right now because I believe that our kids need every opportunity that they can. They've been through so much, and we've been through so much. You know, nobody has ever been treated on the planet as bad as they treated us in
Still treating us.
Yeah, still treating us in the Atlantic slave trade. You know, in the book that I'm reading, it had one chapter in there. They said that sometime on the boats, you know, disease would break out, and they would have hundreds of people change to the bottom of the ship, and the whole crew would abandon the ship because it was a disease. But the slaves changed to the ship. She also talked about how the slaves would be in the ships using the bathroom, having babies, having their periods, all in the same little space where they changed up and they got to eat, sleep, and this stuff for months.
Treating us less than human.
Less than an animal. You know, they don't even treat a dog.
They love their dog.
They don't treat a dog that bad. So you talking about that your parents went through this and you believe that it didn't translate down, and she said that there's scientific proof that shows that that stuff is transferred down from generation to generation.
You remember the name of that book?
It's called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome by Joy DeGruy or something like that.
It sounds like something I need to pick up.
I probably done made her sales go up because I've been preaching the gospel to that one since I read it. It really touched me in a whole different way. Gave me a whole new drive. You know, I gotta succeed. You know, because us that's here, our parents, grandparents that went through that what they went through, if they made it, this little stuff I'm going through right now, missing some sleep. They got a graveyard. They said that they found in New York, where they worked these people so hard that the muscle came loose from the bone.
Jesus.
That's the reason they died. They worked them that hard, where the muscle came loose from the bone. So when we look back at our ancestors, what they went through in order for us to be here functioning, all of us here that's living and walking the planet, our ancestors was like super people.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
What we endure don't feel like nothing when you try and compare the two.
No,
it ain't.
When you just what I do is when I read, I put myself in the bottom of that ship, and I chain myself to the chain, and I smelled the stench and the crying and the suffering and and everything that was going on, and it was just like horrific. I mean, she just go deep, man. She's like, what do a mother go through when her daughter becomes of age and the slave master starts to notice her? What does she do to prepare her daughter for this? Does she know it's coming? She already know it's coming because she went through it.
And then the father can't do nothing.
And the father can't even, the father probably just came through and studied, and kept it moving. So she probably don't even know who the daddy really is and never gonna see him again unless it's time to get pregnant again and they bring him back through. And then how many men is gonna have your 11-year-old daughter, 12-year-old daughter?
Right.
It was just wow, man. It was just deep. When you look at it like that and say, wow, my people went through that.
Because we dealing with diabolical people who have put a plan in place to pretty much eradicate us. Some of the things. So Dame, me and Dame was talking about this earlier. we talked about like marijuana and different drugs, right? Like I can find some marijuana somewhere out in the field. You may be able to light it up, smoke it. It's some natural shit that a natural progression. When you go into like crack and cocaine and things of that nature, right? Like somebody made that in the laboratory first. Somebody had to come to the neighborhood to show somebody how to cook it up and do all that. Like somebody literally put that shit together in the laboratory.
No doubt.
It wasn't no science fair experience.
Right.
You
Like
know
no
what
one
I'm
just
saying?
stumbled upon this like, oh, maybe I'll throw some baking soda here. Maybe I'll do this or whatnot. And I mean, then we found out that it's the CIA. You know what I mean? And the same people who have
Supposed to keep it out.
Right.
I mean, these people have been very diabolical since the beginning of time. And they don't have any kind of regard for us, our family, our heritage, or our future.
And a lot of this stuff that happened, the United States government sanctioned it.
Literally.
You know, they back a black man can't argue with a white man. It can't disagree. It can't disobey. You know, they sanction that. These are United States laws. You know, Lincoln and Washington, you know, put these laws in place. Some of they say are their greatest presidents.
Yeah.
I don't believe none of these presidents, man. That is all smoke and mirrors.
All smoke and mirrors, man.
Well, you know, at the bottom line for us as a people, you know, it's time for us to wake up, you know, start to educate ourselves and stop being duped. You know, stop going for the okie doke. You know, stop believing everything that we say. You know, they put people out in front of us, you know, to make us believe that things are better, you know, which, you know, when you walk the streets, you already know that they ain't better. You know,
right.
It's probably worse than it's ever been. You know, unemployment for black men is at an all-time high. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know it's at an all-time high. We can't get no jobs, and the numbers that they're using is probably worse because most of us don't even go into the unemployment office and register because
Right.
we know we ain't getting no job.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't even waste no time going down there, you know, registering.
Or some of this maybe never had a job. Like, so I'm never in the system to be out of work because I never worked.
So, you know, it's really up to us to now roll up our sleeves and start doing what it's going to take for us to get out of this position. And that's one of the reasons I wrote this book, because I believe that I have some formulas that could help us become more economically stable.
I think so. I definitely, I'm in chapter 14 right now. I can't wait to finish the rest of the book. But I definitely believe, I definitely appreciate you writing the book, taking the time out to explain your story, and actually coming out here and doing work, speaking with the people, speaking with the youth to let them know where things may have went wrong and what we can do to keep everything on track.
Yeah. Well, you know, if you know better and you don't do better, then you a damn fool.
Right.
You know?
So for people that don't know about you or your story, what can they expect to get from the book?
Well, I'm hoping that this book helps to not only motivate them, but also give them some of the techniques that I use to accumulate my success before I went to prison, and some of the techniques that I use to break out of prison, because I say I didn't get out of prison, I broke out of prison because they wasn't planning on me getting out. You know, nobody just came and said, you know, Rick, we felt good today, so we're going to let you out today. No, I stayed in the law library 18, 19 hours a day. I studied hard. I got to a point to where I felt nobody knew as much about my case as I did. Once I won my appeal, I read over 300 books before I left prison. I don't know how many newspapers. And now it's working for me on the street. You know, my book, I'm self-published.
That's printed in Detroit.
It's printed in Detroit. So I'm creating the jobs right here in Detroit. Matter of fact, I went over to the press today and took pictures, you know, with some of the people who put my book together. They was like, man, we've been reading your book from the thing, but we're not allowed to take one. Because I was like, y'all could have just took one out of there. And they was like, cause I just picked up 10,000 books today. And they was like, no, we're not allowed to do that. But if you can give us one. So, you know, I signed autographs and told them how much I appreciate them helping me with my book. And what they gonna do. They don't know I'm planning on buying the plant.
Okay.
That's dope.
they don't even know that. I was over there looking at it, but I'm looking like, oh yeah, I'm gonna own this. This mine.
So I don't know what kind of businesses that you running right now, but I would love, and you could be doing this or not, but I would love for you to take over the legal side of the drug game, just as the way you took over the other one.
Because I'm already working on it.
That's what's up.
They they didn't let me dig a hole. we dug in.
Okay.
They might have to get a bulldozer and dig us out.
That's
but
what's
we
up.
dug in. We studying right now. I'm teaching all my nephews how to grow. I'm gonna try to get somebody, because what they did is they let me slide up under 3 or 4 of the top growers in California. And I don't know if y'all know, but California got some of the best stuff in the world.
That's what I hear.
And
I need to try some.
they let me slide up under them and learn some of their techniques and their growing philosophies, and even get their strains.
Okay.
So we're in a pretty good position right now. My next move is I want to start a school, where I open this school up not only to my immediate family, but to other people who are interested, because it's definitely a good business to be in. Right now, say for instance, in California, if you know how to grow and you run a grow warehouse, you can make $12,000 a month. And you'll probably only be working like 3 hours a day. Trimmers make about $15 an hour, $15 to $20 an hour, according to how good you are. So it's definitely a profitable business, and we're not represented in it
At all.
No, we're not represented in the business that well.
I just don't like how the fact you're gonna lock us up for all this stuff and then make it legal and
not let us out after you make it legal.
Yeah.
They still in jail for
that
it.
don't make no damn sense.
But they make the infrastructure so hard for you to really get a foot in the door.
Yeah, but we gotta spend more time getting into the infrastructure. We gotta get right in there with them when they changing the laws, and fight with them, because what happens is we don't pay attention to what's going on, and then all of a sudden they give out the licenses and so forth, and then by the time we find out it's closed, we're not giving out any more licenses.
They just closed like 87 dispensaries here in the city. Like about 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, they closing them down now.
They shutting them down because they're saying
wanna
it's only
close.
2 that are operating legally in Michigan.
They're trying to shut down 50 more. Like they don't want to, they don't want you involved. So they're trying to rezone it where you can't be next to a school or church
But
or a
that
liquor
makes
store.
sense though. It's the same way in L.A.
It's a school, church, and liquor store in every corner in the city though.
Yeah.
That by default push you out.
Right,
Like,
right. Makes it hard to find a
Yeah.
place to put it.
You got to damn near basically get out of the city at this point.
Yeah, and then once you go out of the city,
You don't have no customers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another
You
game
don't have the
they
money
play.
to pay the big bucks for the perfect properties.
And then people, I mean, quiet as it's kept. Sometimes we scared to move around the city. They make it a little bit difficult. And, I'm riding around with warrants right now, so I mean, I'm cautious about where I move at.
Yeah, but we got to get involved with it though, because in California they're saying that next year it's going to be a $25 to $50 billion industry. So Warren Buffett said anybody that's a serious businessman that's not looking into it is not a serious businessman. And there's a lot of people that's talking about investing money into the business. So, you get some of those licenses. Say, for instance, somebody down here, if one of you guys were able to put together a license, people would line up to give you the money to buy the building and stock it and so forth. And I could help you with that. I know investors just looking for people. These people though, it can't be no illegality to it.
Right.
Because they business people and they ain't trying to go to jail. These are good people, never been to jail. They ain't got no warrants. Yeah, you talk about jail, they gone.
Yeah. Well, that may be something we need to look into.
Yeah, man, putting some licenses together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
sure.
mean, the first thing to do is to go get on your website, City Hall, and check with them. Then if you don't get the information you need, then go to the state get on their website and look up medical or recreational. Is it recreational here or just medical?
Medical.
Okay, well then you go there and you look up the medical and then find out what the criteria is. It can't just be for rich. Where they, if they say usually the license is going to cost you anywhere from maybe $3,000 to $7,000. But the kind of money you make when you get your license,
You'll see a return on that investment in
my
no
goodness.
time.
It's stores in LA that make $30,000 a day. And then like I said, if you in LA, the license that in 87 when in 2007 when they first made it recreational, if you'd have got one of those licenses and you'd have stayed legal, you wouldn't have broke no rules, those licenses would probably be worth anywhere from $4 million to $15 million.
Whew.
God.
You can sell your license, right?
Yeah, you can sell your license.
Like a liquor license
Yeah.
almost.
It's exactly like a liquor license. But then in 2007 when they gave the license only cost $200.
Jesus.
We missed the wave. We missed that.
Well, you
Ain't
ain't
too
missed the
late.
way
It
because
ain't
it
too
just
late.
started here.
Yeah.
It just started here, and I guarantee you, most of the people they didn't go get their license. They don't want to go through the process. But if you take your time, go through the process, do everything that it take. Like they doing relicense in L.A. All my family, I'm putting their name in the hat. They ain't even got to go. I'm gonna go do it for them. Because if one of them hit the lottery, that's what I call it.
Right.
You win that license, you just hit the lottery. And it's easier to hit than the mega.
Actual lottery.
But in LA, I hear they're going to be giving out a growing license to everybody. Anybody that wants to grow is going to be allowed to grow. So it's going to be a pretty open market on the growing aspect. They're going to have testers, people to test it for the pesticides. They're going to have distributors, people who will go around and buy it and then distribute it to the shops. So it's a big market, transporters. Everybody gonna be eating, man.
Definitely. Only thing I'm worried about is, when when they get their hands on it, they start doing weird stuff with it. You know what I'm saying? You can't never trust.
But that's why you got to know who your grower is. You
so
got to
if
grow
you get
for
into
yourself.
business and growing yourself.
But you always got that conspiracy theory about weed.
I think it's a conspiracy about damn everything. But
we got to put a school, man. We need a school right here. In Detroit, where our kids can come and learn how to grow if they want
absolutely. I mean, that's the market. We need more entrepreneurs, more self-empowerment. We can't keep working for somebody else.
Yeah, why shouldn't we be growing? Why shouldn't we know how to trim it and cross strains and all the other stuff?
Who don't want to make $144 a year for 3 hours a day?
Yeah, 3 hours a day.
I'll take it. I'll take it right now. Shit.
So, man, we just definitely appreciate you, man, for coming in and checking with us, and all the work that you're doing.
I appreciate y'all having me on the air and allowing me to be so open. It's rare that you can go to a show and just be you and just really kick the truth.
Yeah, we get kind of wild. We don't really hold no punch.
No.
That's cool.
But I mean, it allow people to open up and share with us. I mean, you come in here, we uptight, and we drilling you with shit. We ain't gonna get what we want either. So I mean, it's an open exchange. But for people that don't know, where can we find the book? Any social media, online information? Can you provide us with that?
Yeah, they can go to my website, freewayrickyross.com. Order the book. You also can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and all those other websites. But, do me a favor. Go to freewayricross.com and get your book. Ask me to autograph it for you. I'll personally autograph it for you. Might take a few days longer, but you'll get the autograph. I'm going to be around the city, man. I got a few places around the city I'm going this week. I'm going to be in Detroit all the way up until Sunday. Sunday, okay. I'll be speaking over at the Nation of Islam. I don't know where I'm going to be at the rest of the week. Hazy, where all we got to go next? Too many to name? We're going to be up in, what's that city we're going to be in Saturday?
Flint, Michigan.
We're going to be in Flint Saturday.
We're going to be everywhere all over Detroit for the next couple of days.
Yeah, we're going to be all over Detroit. Y'all can check out my Instagram page, Freeway Ricky, and my Twitter page, Freeway Ricky, and my Facebook, Freeway Rick Ross. So you can go there. All my dates will be posted on there. And come out, holler at your boy, get a book. If you ain't got the $20 to get a book, you really need to get the book.
Go find $20.
Yeah, you really need to get the book. And if you ain't, you still come out, take a picture, and ask me some questions. Pick my mind. Whatever you want to do, I ain't gonna get mad at you. Talk to me dirty,
That's what's up.
whatever. It don't matter. Come on, just come out. I just want to see you, man. I always get a lot of love in Detroit, man. Everybody here showed me a lot of love. Trick. We missed him yesterday at the event. We tried to catch up with him. He was out there, but Detroit give me a lot of love, and I got a lot of love for Detroit.
Well, we appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all. Shout out to nephews SJ.
Yeah, SJ.
AJ.
Yes, for
Hey,
sure.
they
College of
plugged us
hip-hop.
in. Yeah.
The
Good
Inkster
brothers,
twins.
man.
Y'all
Absolutely.
keep doing y'all thing.
Much love to them. Much love to Inkster. Like we say every week, I'm not saying we the Rockefeller podcast, but we are Jay and Dane.
Hell yeah.
Peace.